There's this specific kind of worry that hits people in retirement, or in the years just before it, that is different from almost every other financial fear. It's not the kind of worry you get when you're 27 and you overspend 1 month and your account is tight until payday. That worry has a clear horizon. You know it ends. No, this one is different. This one shows up at 3 in the morning, usually for no particular reason, and it just sort of sits there in the dark with you. And the thought that keeps running through your head is some variation of, what if the money runs out before I do? My name is Marcus, and I spend probably more time than is healthy thinking about that exact fear, why it exists, why it's so persistent, and whether the way most people are set up to handle retirement actually makes it better, or quietly makes it worse. I've spent years digging into financial psychology, retirement planning mechanics, and the gap between what people think will make them feel safe in retirement and what actually does. And the thing I keep coming back to, the thing that genuinely changed how I understand retirement income, is a strategy that most financial advisors know about, but not nearly enough regular people actually use. It's called the 3-bucket strategy, and I know, when something gets a catchy name like that, it can start to sound like marketing. Like it's going to be one of those things that sounds great in a YouTube video and then turns out to be kind of obvious or kind of useless. I get that skepticism. But stick with me here, because what I want to show you today isn't just what the 3 buckets are. It's why they work on a deeper level than most people realize, including, honestly, the psychological level. Because the reason this strategy matters isn't just math, it's about how your brain experiences financial uncertainty, and those are 2 very different things. Let's start with how most people enter retirement. They've spent 30, 40 years accumulating. They've had a 401k, maybe some IRAs, hopefully some other savings. And then one day the paychecks stop and they flip from accumulation mode, adding money, to distribution mode, drawing money down. And what a lot of people do in that transition is essentially this. They look at their portfolio as one big number, and they try to figure out how to take withdrawals from it sustainably. On paper, that makes a certain kind of sense. If you have, say, $900,000 invested and you need $36,000 a year beyond Social Security, that's a 4% withdrawal rate, which is roughly within what's considered a sustainable range. Fine. Mathematically defensible. But here's what that approach completely fails to account for. What happens emotionally and practically when that big number starts going down? Especially if the market decides to cooperate with a crash in the first few years of your retirement. Because here's the brutal truth about sequence of returns risk. The timing of market downturns matters enormously when you're taking withdrawals. 2 retirees could have the exact same average annual return over a 30-year retirement and end up in completely different financial situations depending on when the bad years happened. If the bad years come early, say, the first 3 to 5 years of retirement, and you're selling shares every month to cover your expenses, you're locking in losses at the worst possible time. You're selling low, and you have fewer shares left to participate in the eventual recovery. Think about the difference between retiring in 1999 versus retiring in 2009. Same target, same portfolio size, same withdrawal rate. But the person who retired in 1999 walked straight into the dot-com crash. They were selling shares through 2001 and 2002 to pay their bills. By the time the market recovered, their portfolio was structurally damaged in a way that was really hard to come back from. The person who retired in 2009 had some short-term nervousness, but was actually about to ride one of the longest bull markets in history upward. Completely different outcomes, same plan. And this is the thing that one big pile retirement math doesn't solve. It can't solve it really, because the risk isn't just about averages, it's about sequence. And the 3-bucket strategy is, at its core, a structural answer to that problem. Alright, so let's actually get into the buckets. And I want to be clear that different financial planners define these slightly differently, so there's some variation in how you'll see this described. But the core concept is pretty consistent. Bucket 1 is your short-term money. This is the cash that covers your basic living expenses for roughly 1 to 2 years, sometimes up to 3. We're talking high-yield savings accounts, money market funds, maybe short-term CDs. This is not investment money. It's not trying to grow. Its only job is to be there, immediately accessible, stable, and ready. Now, why does this matter? Because when the market drops, and it will drop at some point in your retirement, probably more than once. You don't have to touch your investment accounts to pay your bills. You've got a cushion. You can let the market be volatile without that volatility threatening your groceries or your utility bill or your medication. And I want to pause on this for a second because I think the psychological piece here is genuinely underappreciated when you know concretely that your next 12 to 24 months of expenses are sitting in cash that doesn't move with the stock market. Your relationship to a market downturn changes. It stops being existential and starts being more academic. You can watch the S&P drop 15% and feel it differently than someone who needs to sell from their portfolio next month to pay rent. This is not a small thing. Investor behavior during downturns is one of the biggest destroyers of long-term wealth. People panic sell. They exit at the bottom. They miss the recovery. And a huge part of what drives that panic is immediacy. The feeling that the decline is happening to them right now, in a way that threatens their daily life. Bucket 1 removes that immediacy. It buys time. And time, in investing, is almost everything. Bucket 2 is your medium-term money, the bridge between your stable cash reserve and your long-term growth investments. This bucket typically covers roughly years 2 or 3 through 7 or 8 of retirement expenses and is usually invested in lower volatility assets. Think bonds, dividend-paying stocks, balanced funds, treasury securities, things that carry some market exposure but far less than a pure equity portfolio. The job of Bucket 2 is to generate modest returns and, crucially, to be available to refill Bucket 1 when it gets low, without having to sell equities in a down market. This is really where the strategy starts to show its mechanical elegance. Because here's what you're doing. You're creating a deliberate lag between your spending and your most volatile assets. By the time you need to draw from Bucket 2, ideally enough time has passed that market conditions are more favorable than they were when you first needed cash. And by the time you need to draw from Bucket 3, your equity-heavy growth portfolio, you might be 7 or more years into retirement, which gives those investments a meaningful runway. Bucket 2 is also where some of the ongoing rebalancing happens. If the market has a good year, you might harvest some gains from Bucket 3 and move them into Bucket 2 to shore up the bridge. If the market has a rough year, you sit on Bucket 2 and let Bucket 3 recover without bleeding. You're not just holding 3 pools of money. You're managing a flow between them. And that flow gives you flexibility that a single-pooled approach just doesn't have. One thing I'll say about Bucket 2, this is often where people spend the least mental energy, and I think that's a mistake. People get very focused on their cash cushion and their growth portfolio, and Bucket 2 becomes kind of an afterthought. But getting the allocation and the asset selection right in that middle bucket matters a lot for the overall smoothness of the strategy. It's worth sitting down with a financial professional to think through what belongs in your bridge layer specifically. And then there's Bucket 3. This is your long-term growth money. Stocks, equity funds, real estate investment trusts, whatever your preferred growth vehicles are. This is the part of your portfolio that's still working like it was during your accumulation years, still invested, still volatile, still capable of significant short-term swings. But here's the key reframe. Because of Buckets 1 and 2, you don't need to touch this money for potentially 7 to 10 years or more, which means short-term market volatility is mostly irrelevant to this bucket. You can afford to let it ride through downturns because you're not depending on it for current expenses. It gets to do what growth assets are supposed to do: grow over time with the inevitable ups and downs along the way. This is honestly one of the most underrated benefits of the bucket strategy. It keeps a significant portion of your money in growth assets throughout retirement, which is something a lot of people, and frankly, some older financial planning approaches, have gotten wrong. The instinct when you retire is to get conservative, move everything to bonds and cash, preserve capital, and I understand that instinct. It feels responsible. But if you're retiring at 65 and you live to 87, you've got a 22-year investment horizon. 22 years. That's longer than a lot of people's entire working careers. Keeping some exposure to equities isn't reckless. For most people, it's kind of necessary if you want your money to last. The bucket strategy lets you maintain that growth exposure without losing sleep over it, because the growth money is protected from being raided during downturns. That's the design. Bucket 3 is your engine, but it runs in the background, and you only call on it when conditions are right. So, how does this work on a practical level? Let me try to sketch out the flow. You start retirement with Bucket 1 full, 1 to 2 years of expenses in stable cash. Bucket 2 is funded with 5 or so years of additional expenses and moderate assets. Bucket 3 is the rest of your portfolio, in long-term growth investments. As time passes, you spend from Bucket 1. As Bucket 1 gets low, let's say it drops below 6 months or so of expenses, you refill it from Bucket 2. You're just transferring money from the bridge to the cash cushion. Meanwhile, you're monitoring Bucket 3. When market conditions are favorable, you move some gains from Bucket 3 into Bucket 2 to replenish what you've used. What you're really doing is buying yourself options. You're never forced to sell equities in a down market because you've always got the lower volatility layers to draw from first. And in a prolonged downturn, you have years of runway before you'd ever need to touch Bucket 3. Enough time, historically, for markets to recover. Now, I want to be honest about something here, because I think it's important. The 3-bucket strategy is not a magic formula. It doesn't eliminate investment risk. It doesn't guarantee that your money lasts. In a genuinely catastrophic, extended downturn, something worse than anything we've seen in modern history, even the bucket system could run into trouble if the drawdown is severe enough and long enough. No strategy is immune to extreme scenarios. What the bucket strategy does is tilt the odds in your favor. It reduces the probability of one of the most common ways retirement portfolios fail, which is the early years withdrawal death spiral. And it does it in a way that also happens to make the emotional experience of retirement more stable. That dual benefit is really what makes it worth understanding. I think about this question a lot, actually. The bucket strategy isn't new. It's been around in various forms for decades. Harold Avensky, a financial planner, is often credited with popularizing the 2-bucket version of it back in the 90s. Christine Benz at Morningstar has written extensively about bucket portfolios. This isn't obscure knowledge. So why doesn't everyone do it? A few reasons, I think. One is that it requires a bit more active management than just setting a withdrawal rate and sticking to it. You have to think about refilling the buckets. You have to make decisions about when to harvest from Bucket 3. For people who want something completely hands-off, it adds some complexity. Another reason is that financial advisors are sometimes hesitant to recommend it because it can look, on paper, like it's sacrificing returns. If your cash cushion is sitting in a money market account, earning 3% while the stock market is up 20%, you're losing something. But that framing misses the whole point. The cash isn't trying to grow, it's trying to be stable. Those are different jobs, and you can't hold them to the same standard. And honestly, I think some people don't use the bucket strategy because they haven't really confronted the emotional dimension of retirement income yet. When you're in accumulation mode, volatility is kind of abstract. It goes up, it goes down, but you're adding more money and you've got time. When you flip to distribution mode, when you're taking money out rather than putting it in, volatility becomes suddenly, viscerally personal. And a lot of people don't think about that shift until they're in it. And by then they're already feeling the anxiety without having a structure to manage it. The bucket strategy is, at its heart, a structure. It's not just a portfolio allocation, it's a mental model, and that might be the most valuable thing about it. Let's come back to that 3 in the morning feeling, that quiet, specific dread of outliving your money. I think most people who are heading toward retirement have felt it at some point, even the ones who've saved well, even the ones who've done most things right. Because the shift from earning to spending is genuinely psychologically disorienting. You've spent your whole life building. Now you're drawing down. And without a clear mental picture of how that's supposed to work, without a structure, it can feel incredibly fragile. The 3-bucket strategy gives you that structure. It gives you a way to look at your retirement savings not as one big pile that can go up or down based on what the market does tomorrow, but as a layered system. Stable money for right now, bridge money for the medium term, and growth money for the long haul. Each layer has a job. Each layer makes the others more resilient. and together they create something that a single account or a single withdrawal rate never quite can, a sense that the design is thoughtful enough to handle the uncertainty. That's not a small thing, because one of the most underrated aspects of financial security is the confidence it gives you to actually live your life, to take the trip, to be generous with the people you love, to stop making every small decision through the lens of fear. And you can't do that if you're lying awake doing mental math about whether the market being down 12% this quarter means you're going to run out of money at 80. You might be someone who's 30 years from retirement, and this is purely conceptual right now, useful framing for later. Or you might be someone who's 5 years out and starting to think seriously about how this all fits together. Or maybe you're already in it, already drawing down, and wondering if there's a better way to think about the structure of what you have. Wherever you are, the work is worth doing, quietly, methodically, without panic. Understanding how the pieces fit together and why they fit that way is one of the most genuinely useful things you can do for your future self. The person who wakes up at 3 in the morning deserves a better answer than just, "I hope it's enough." They deserve a plan that was designed thoughtfully to handle the hard parts. Build that plan. Start wherever you are. And then, when the market does something alarming, and it will, you'll be able to look at it differently, not with calm indifference exactly, but with a little more understanding of why your structure is built to survive it. That's worth a lot. Now, if you found something interesting in this video, make sure to press that like button, comment your strategy, what you are using right now, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.